Welcome to Digital Marketing ROI, the podcast that connects marketing to your business's revenue and covers everything you need to know to stay up to date in this crazy digital marketing world.
Welcome to Digital Marketing ROI. I'm your host, Shannon Allen, and I'm joined by my favorite co-host, Krystal. How are you, Krystal?
I'm doing great, Shannon. The spring, I know we keep going back and forth between spring and winter, but this time of year, the few days of sunshine that we get like today, I am like, I'm a new person.
Yes, and you just had a birthday,
Yes.
and you are, for those that don't know, Krystal is a St. Patty's Day baby, and so is my older brother.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a great day to be born.
It is, yes. I am Irish. My mom's side of the family has more Irish in them.
I'm Irish,
I
too.
pretend with the name Shannon that we knew that, but we didn't really know that. We just thought we were Dutch, like 100%.
That's really funny.
Yes.
That's really funny. No, I am Irish. I don't know like percentages or whatever. I've never done the 23andMe thing, but I just know from where my family's from. I'm Irish and German and French and English. So.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, my mom and dad both did the ancestry.
Yeah.
And we've always thought we're Dutch, both sides of the family. And, what people don't always realize that German is Dutch. It just,
Yes.
But some of them, if it says Dutch, it means you're really Dutch. If it says German, it could just mean that you're also Dutch.
Yes.
Like it kind of goes hand in
Well, it's
hand.
like different regions, right?
Yes.
Like
my dad said Dutch. My
Yes.
mom said German, but it also had Irish and, I'm Scottish.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. That tight little area
Yes.
in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to go visit someday.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to.
I would love to.
Did you drink any green beer?
So I am not really a beer drinker
That's true, yes.
anymore. I used to be. I loved it. I like all the craft beers.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, my tummy's gotten a little bit more sensitive. I did have some Irish whiskey over the
There you go.
weekend, so that was really
There you
good.
go.
That's my favorite type of whiskey is
Right.
Irish whiskey. And then some red wine because that's my other favorite drink.
Well, this is how you know you're aging. For years, for almost 10 years, a group of friends of mine we'd go to Chicago every year.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They'd turn the river green. You do one parade on Saturday and the South Side on Sunday.
Yep.
And then you get a little bit older, then you're only doing one parade, and then a couple years go by and 10 years go by, and then we're like, hey, let's rent a bus. So for a lot of years, I rented a bus and we'd go downtown Kalamazoo, which
that's
in
great.
Michigan. And then it would be, now it's like, hey, you want to go out and do a couple hours of day drinking and let's not go downtown Kalamazoo now because it's too crowded. Let's go somewhere we can sit.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with me with the St. Patrick's Day birthday is that like now, I mean, I love it, but sometimes I just want to go out to dinner with like my husband and my daughter.
It's so busy.
But it's so busy and it's packed and like everyone's like wild.
Yeah.
And so my husband just grilled steaks for
There you
dinner
go.
and then we'll do stuff. We'll go out like this weekend, but the weekend before or whatever weekend where everybody's doing the St. Patrick's Day stuff, it's hard for us to go out unless we want to go
It is very
wild,
true.
in which case we have a babysitter for.
This is very true. This is very true. So I did drink some green beer.
Well, good.
And felt like I got a little bit and I wore my green shirt and I had to get my bag of beads out because I had so many beads and decorations and earrings and
Oh yeah,
So.
the dressing up is
It's
really
the fun part,
I love that. I like the glasses and the hats and everything.
Well, I have a friend that used to go out every year, and she posted one of my favorite pictures where she had like a long red wig on and a hat, and she had the tutu, and she was holding green balloons, and she looked like a character out of the Leprechaun City.
Yeah, that's so cute.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm excited for our topic today. I've been wanting to do this, and we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to kind of just play off of each other because I think we both have great things to say. We're going to talk about micro-influencer marketing.
Yeah, and this is tightly connected to social media.
Very much.
It is on social media.
Which you're my expert at. The reason I really wanted to do this is because we are seeing this more and more and more. It's why my 13-year-old wants to buy everything that TikTok presents to her. So let's dive right in because I want you to ask the questions, but you and I are going to play off of each other on this.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So let's start with what exactly are micro-influencers and the different types of influencers, and why are they becoming so valuable for businesses as a marketing tactic in 2025?
So a couple months ago on one of the podcasts, I think I talked about my good friend Courtney, who I think we're really good friends because I follow everything she does.
Yeah.
And she's just like me, and she lives in Indiana, even though I live in Michigan, and she likes the same things I like, and so I love to follow her.
Yes.
And her makeup, I'm very much influenced by what she does because we have both our blondes, might wear the same size, same skin tone, and so there is a connection that I trust what she's putting out there. Mm-hmm. And it's why I said, like, I would love to talk to small businesses about where content is going and where where you can use these brand ambassadors, right? And there's so many different levels. And to give a definition to those that are listening, a micro-influencer are content creators with smaller but highly engaged follower bases. Now, the content or the information that I received, it said typically, and it gave a big range.
Yeah.
1,000 to 100,000. However, you did give me a little bit better breakdown. So why don't you tell our listeners exactly what that is?
Yeah. So we break that down to a nano-influencer is the smallest influencer. Okay. So in order to be considered an influencer in the social media world, you have to have at least 1,000 followers. 1,000 to 10,000 is considered a nano influencer. Okay. And then a micro influencer is 10,000 to 100,000. Now, the thing that's really cool and the thing that's important about both nano and micro influencers is that they're creating a community. Mm-hmm. It's very close. And the people who follow them closely feel that connection like you talked about with Courtney. And I follow Courtney too because of your recommendation. She's super cute.
She's super funny. And her and her husband do these little bits too.
Yeah, and they're really authentic. Yeah. And that's how the most effective influencers, the ones that are gaining the popularity, building the community, are the ones who are so adept at building those connections and those relationships with their audience. And that tight connection is why I think that influencers are so valuable, especially micro, nano. Mm-hmm. I think we'll just use micro for the purpose.
Yes.
Because they're real people who just built a following by being authentic online. It's not like this celebrity got famous for acting or singing or for being Paris Hilton's stylist like Kim Kardashian. Right. Or for certain people, it's because their parents were famous and so now they're famous, right? Well, these are just everyday people who are they focused on creating a lot of content online and they built up communities and they built up connections. And people are only going to follow influencers that they feel really connected with. There's influencers that you probably would connect with that I wouldn't and vice versa. But we have some shared like Courtney.
Right. Once I said that, here's one of the stats I found. 82% of consumers are more likely to follow recommendations from someone they perceive as similar to themselves versus a celebrity, right?
Yes.
And for those listening, what is really the difference? Obviously, reach.
Yes.
If you are going to work with an influencer, what they charge is going to be different. So, like as you give the example, and the nano, the 1 to 10, is going to be a different price than somebody that is considered a macro or a micro. I think Courtney is over. I think she has like almost 1 million.
Oh, I don't know. I never looked at her followers. I don't look at follower counts when I'm following people.
The only reason I did was because when you and I first started talking about this, I was like, oh, she's just this. And then I looked at her, I'm like, she's not so little. She has grown it. But from when I first started following her, and I would tell people, yeah, my friend Courtney. And they were like, oh, who's Courtney? I'm like, well, it's this woman I follow.
She has 264,000 followers.
Oh, okay.
So she is considered a macro influencer, not a micro influencer. Okay. But she still has the vibe. And
she definitely has the vibe.
Especially for the Midwest. Because
Courtney Spencer.
It's
right?
Courtney Spencer.
Let's give her a shout out.
The.Courtney Spencer on Instagram. She's great. She has super cute taste in fashion. Some of the stuff I'm like, I wouldn't wear that, but it looks great on you.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff I'm like, oh my God, I need it. She does a great job of like showcasing her personal life, but then also talking about the makeup and the fashion.
And she doesn't overdo it. She doesn't have too much that is out of her realm. It has to really tie into her lifestyle, which is exactly what this is. And this is where small businesses that are listening to us, there is a time and a place for what that is. Now, if you're not a retail store, it's a very different conversation. We can so think outside the box.
Yeah.
A golf course could have a micro influencer working with them that is showcasing, what their golf course looks like. It doesn't just have to be product that you're pushing.
I think that really whether it's a product that you're pushing, a service, an experience or anything like that, I think that if you are a B2C brand, there is an opportunity for you to work with an influencer of some type.
Yes.
And what that looks like depends on your community, your reach as a business, your product or services, and like who you want to talk to. So let's talk about a little bit more about the audience relationship with micro influencers from traditional celebrity and why that matters, because I think that is the real crux of what is so important for influencers.
Right. And I think a lot of people, the minute we talk about influencers, you're thinking celebrity, right? You're thinking Kim Kardashian. You're thinking any of the Kardashians, right? One of the stats was that a micro-influencer typically responds to 70% of comments versus just 3% from celebrity influencers. And you know that 3%, it's not Kim.
It's not Kim. No, it's a certain. She probably isn't even posting herself when she's publishing the posts. She has a PR team that she has hired that is doing that for her.
Yes.
And they're also scanning on social media and they're handling the DMs and they're doing everything. It's very similar to what we do. We provide for businesses, social media management. For somebody like Kim Kardashian, it's at a much more higher level and very intense because you're managing a whole celebrity.
And think about it. So, we know that these followers are trusting these relationships as if it's your own friend. I posted something. I already turned you on to Blenders. I said maybe I should start being a brand ambassador for Blenders. And one of my sales reps, Angela Todd, pointed them out to me like 2 years ago. And I'm obsessed. And when they have their BOGO sale, like my mom was teasing me, but I've bought her a pair of sunglasses from them. But she's like, how many do you have? And I'm like, well, sometimes I need some to match my bathing suits.
Yeah.
Because I'm on my boat. Yeah. And I took them to Cancun with me. So I'm a big Blenders person. So I talked to you about it. You bought them.
Yep.
Well, the other day I posted on social media, hey, it's the BOGO sale. This is my favorite time to buy my glasses because I'm getting a buy one, get one free. So I'm buying the more expensive ones and I get two for that price.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
So I pushed it out there. Now, anybody reading that's already my friend, that is the difference between these micro or these nano influencers and how they can be, to me, for local businesses, so much more valuable than a celebrity. And nobody around can afford these celebrity.
Well, and they're pushing products, like you said, that are very expensive, but it feels more like that personal relationship, that personal recommendation, because you also know that that person has experienced that product.
Yes.
I know that you recommend Blenders because you use Blenders and wear them, and I loved how they looked. You let me try them on, and I went out and bought a pair, and I love them, and I bought more. I didn't get the buy one, get one sale, though, so I need to get on that. Courtney, she sells makeup. She's an ambassador for a makeup brand. She shows you how she uses it. And you can also tell that she wears it. And she explains everything. That feels like a much more personal recommendation than just, we know that somebody's going to pay Kim Kardashian to
and we don't
promote
know
their lipstick. And we don't know,
trust it.
Does she really like it? Does she? Is it something that is actually genuine, or is she just getting paid? And even when we know that influencers, micro-influencers and nano-influencers, when we know that they're getting paid, they also know that their loyal followers will call them out and will create a tidal wave of negative blowback to them if they are promoting something that is bad or that they don't actually believe in. There's a lot more, like, the community has a lot of power to hold that person accountable, whereas Kim Kardashian does not care if, well, Shannon thinks that was incorrect. And even, and there's been problems with every celebrity and their brands, whether it's an endorsement or one of their own, there's always a problem, right? They just deal with it and move on. I want to talk about an influencer that I follow. Her name is Jenna Bariatric Bestie, and she had bariatric surgery, but she makes protein coffees and talks about exercise. And I am not interested in bariatric surgery, but I'm very much interested in the health side of it. The protein coffee recipes that she publishes. She's doing a step bet where I paid money and now I'm walking every day to meet my step goals to participate in this event that she's throwing online. I love her content. She is so bubbly and she is super bright, and she calls her friends her besties. And that's very much the vibe that I think a really successful influencer does, is they have that, and they're responding to comments, and they're highlighting comments, and they're responding to DMs.
It's their credibility. One of the things in my research that I read that I thought was, breathed so true was this borrowed credibility would take years for brands to build independently.
Yes.
But all of a sudden, here's somebody that looks like you, talks like you, has same interests as you, and you could be 10 years difference in age, 20 years difference, and you're like, oh, but she's a real person. So that credibility is so much more valuable because they're maybe the girl next door, or the guy next door, the neighbor that lives in another state, that does similar things.
Yep. So Jenna partnered with a woman who sells on Etsy. I mean, any business could do this, could partner with an influencer like Jenna to promote a line of t-shirts and a line of like coffee cups that she made. And Jenna recommended it, and she recommended, hey, and I'm doing this line with Mama Made or whatever the shop's name is, and the shop sold out.
Right.
And the shop started to release new products and new lines and expanded their offerings. And like that business does so well because they partnered with Jenna. And it's another, creator type business. But she also promotes protein bars and protein brands and all of these different things. I've bought products using her offer codes, right? And so many people do. That is so powerful. She has people that follow her from all over, but she's in Central Illinois. It's not unheard of for me to buy something to have shipped from Central Illinois to my house in Indiana. There's a lot of also influencers in the community, especially when you look at somebody like a place like Kalamazoo, a place like South Bend, Indiana, Fort Wayne, Indiana. These are big enough cities that there are influencers in these communities that you can partner with that have these small but very dedicated, loyal communities of super fans who will take those recommendations really seriously.
Well, even our on-air, our sister company with all the radio stations, we have some amazing on-air personalities that already have what we call super fans, right? That's influencer 101, right? That is, you already have a built-in following where somebody has a trust with you because they hear you on the radio every single day. Sometimes it's harder for the average person to grow that, but if you have a large friend base and you start putting things out there, all of a sudden you get more and more people that are reading what you're putting out there.
100%, and connecting and commenting and replying back. What if a business wanted to get started in partnering with micro-influencers or nano-influencers? What strategy should they use to choose who to partner with and then create a campaign that's going to be effective for them?
Well, and you and I are going to tag team this, but I would say with any marketing that you're doing, we don't change how we go about our strategy, right? It always starts with you need to clearly define who your target audience is. Let's use something as an example. If you're a service industry, let's say you're lawn care, and we're coming into spring and you're getting your lawn care, very oftentimes you see somebody you're not sure who to use, and you'll push something out to your friend group on Facebook, on Instagram, and say, what's a great lawn service that you've been using? Now, that's a great example where an influencer might notice that they could produce that. They could get their hands around it. Or maybe they had somebody come to their house and they can wrap their head around that this is really good and I'm going to talk to my followers about this. But when it comes to strategy of a small business, you first, like I said, define the target audience and what my goal is. What are my objectives? That brand awareness? Am I trying to educate? Am I trying to grow my sales? Sometimes it's pure education. And then figuring out what industry that you're going after, right? I would say the number one way for businesses, there are companies out there that manage small micro-influencers themselves.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just go into a search. But you can work with other companies that will help connect you with these micro-influencers for a fee. You can also look at it yourself. You can reach out to people yourself, if you're looking at something that you're interested in. I would say go backwards. If you're a small business and you own a business that is product related for sure, that is a great opportunity to find somebody in your market that would more or less utilize you. If you're a hardware store, or you're a local hardware store and you really want to promote your tools for the summer and your lawnmowers, it could be a local person in your market that is really promoting some of what you do already, and you could partner with them and it becomes very organic. It doesn't come up as advertising.
Yeah.
I worked in newspaper for years, and back in the day you would do those articles that we see them all the time now, but
sponsored posts,
right? The sponsored posts or sponsored articles that is really just, it looks like it's a great article when really it's promoting whatever brand you have. And that's just grown.
It's
30
like 10
years
lawn
later.
care tips for spring, and it's by the local lawn and garden shop.
Exactly. Your business is in that. Your team writes blogs to help grow things like that as well.
Now instead of writing them in the newspaper, we publish them on your website and serve them to people through targeted advertising.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I think that's a great example. And I think also one thing that I would add on to that is think about who your target audience is and who you want to reach. Let's say you wanted to reach homeowners who are going to be making a final decision about lawn care. Maybe that is women. Maybe that is wives and mothers and things like that. Don't think, I just need to go after, dudes who love lawn care on social media. Well, go after, maybe partner with somebody who talks about home maintenance or cleaning or homemaking or something like that, because they're going to have a tight audience of people who care about that same thing. And it's very natural. Maybe they don't often talk about lawn care, but maybe it's still close enough that it seems natural and it's not completely out of their wheelhouse. They can say, okay, well, you know that one of my things for New Year was I wanted to beautify my house, and part of that is taking care of my lawn. So I'm partnering with XYZ Lawn Care Company, and here's the plans that we're doing, and I'm going to take you on this journey throughout the spring to show you what we're doing and how great it is to work with them. And that's a home run.
Well, and I would say if you're really like thinking to yourself as a business owner, I think this could really benefit me. Talk to your marketing partner. Like anybody that you're working with can help advise you, I would hope, at least give you some background, and do a simple Google search and find out if there's companies in some of these bigger cities that actually have talent groups that handle exactly what this is.
Yep, absolutely.
One of the big things from the research I also read that says that an influencer with 5,000 highly engaged followers, remember, highly engaged, that means like Courtney, I'm following her, I'm seeing her stuff because that's the algorithm that's set up because I engage with it, right? But those 5,000 highly engaged followers typically outperforms one with 50,000 passive followers.
Yes.
And that's huge.
Well, think about the social media algorithm. If you go back to the last couple of episodes that we did where we talked about social media, somebody is not engaged in your content, they're not going to be served your content. They're going to see maybe one post a month from you, if that. Right. But if you have somebody who is super engaged, they're seeing that person's content every single day. I see Courtney's posts 2 or 3 times a week. I see Jenna's posts every single day because I watch her stories and I'm engaged in what she does, and like I'm participating in this step bed thing. So they're very, very connected. You're going to have more impressions with that, and it's a much closer personal recommendation than, oh, well, if you have, again, that's why a lot of people think, oh, well, I need to be with Kim Kardashian. It's like, well, but how many people follow her but never see anything that she posts?
Well, and the really good micro-influencers, somebody like that we're talking about, Courtney Spencer, she brought in the whole family. Her husband. Yep. They get Amazon shipments that her husband tries on. God, he's a good sport, and
yes,
but it's a partnership, and when you can really work with a brand ambassador that does that, boy, you can really hit a home run, because now you're getting both men, female, and kids.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and I think that it's important to look at the content of the person, whether you're going through an agency or working with your marketing partner, or finding somebody, like however you find the influencer, get to know the type of content that they're publishing on a regular basis. Follow them, and it should be on a platform that your business is on. So if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, if you're on TikTok, because you want them to be able to tag your business, and so that your
and those are really the main. And I'm going to go to the next question, because this is where your expertise comes in. But let's tell our listeners what type of content really works best with micro-influencers, and do these strategies based on that content make sense for businesses targeting smaller or local markets, which we're already talking about. But I want you to go a little deeper on the content, some of the content formats.
So the content formats it focuses on the product. So a lot of it is experiencing this product or service, showing what it's like to work with a lawn care service, the before and after images of this is what my garden looked like before and this is what my garden looked like after. Or it's here's me making this product or using this product and you're seeing me use it or explaining how to use it. It is really product focused on that. But then it's also seeing how a product might go into somebody's day in the life, right? Mm-hmm. So like there's an influencer who I follow who does a lot of like home goods promotion. Mm-hmm. And so she just talks about decorating her home. And so she might say, oh, here's a day in the life of me. Well, she's promoting her favorite greens because as a day in her life, she's drinking greens in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then she goes on to do other things throughout the day. And then she talks about how that helps her throughout the day. So she's naturally fitting the product within her life. Sometimes it's tutorials. A lot of times it's like behind the scenes if you know that somebody has like a really tight partnership with a brand where they're actually doing things in person.
Yeah, which I actually really do like those.
I think those are fun. Yeah. So it depends on the creator and it depends on the product. But I would really recommend leaning on the creator they know their audience the best. Yep. Let them pitch ideas for how to come up with this.
Yeah, don't script them.
Don't script them.
I mean, that's the worst thing. The number one thing I would read over and over again is this has to be a natural way to do it. And that, I mean, that's why, the people we follow, like the Courtneys of the world, do a wonderful job of being natural about it. It's just her personality.
Yes.
But she's also, and I want to make sure before we get too far away from this, when we talk about content, we are 90 99% talking video content.
Yes,
right?
The vast majority of it is video.
The really good ones know how to take a video content and then couple that with the complement of just a static display ad or a picture of them using a product and post it to their social as well.
And so it couples it, and they know when to use a reel versus when to use stories versus when to use a feed photo,
live, when you're doing a live versus just a video content.
Yes. And all of those things have different effectiveness. And I think that for the most part, especially on Instagram, there should always be a stories component in a campaign because you need that link, and that's the only way to get it.
But mix it up. Don't just pick one thing and only do that. The ones that I get frustrated with recently, I've been looking at the difference between liquid collagen, and I hate taking 6 pills of collagen to help grow my hair. And I keep getting served, obviously, because I'm in the algorithm. But the ones that are really tired and old are the ones that do the same piece of content over and over and over. They don't change it up. And I know the difference.
Yep, 100%. And it's not compelling, and you tune it out a lot faster.
It's not organic.
Yeah. I think that if you have your goals in mind and you talk to the influencer and figure out, okay, what has worked for you before, especially if they have worked with other businesses before, what kind of content works for you? Or what kind of content does your audience really resonate with? Okay, we're going to have you do a reel, and we're going to have you do 2 stories or 2 or 3 series of stories over 2 or 3 different days. And you're going to use this specific link, and here's everything that you need to go. And we want you to talk about what these 3 bullet points of key points of this product, but then otherwise, like, you're free to do what you think is going to be best, what's going to resonate with your audience the most. I think that's especially important for the micro-influencer content because you're talking to a small group of people, but then also you're talking to those people's friends. Because if you saw an influencer promoting a really great collagen product that you were super interested in, you're going to share it with somebody a friend who you might know is also looking for that. Or if they're doing a giveaway, if they're doing a contest, then you're going to share that to your stories.
Exactly.
Because that's how you enter to win the giveaway.
You know, when we talk to clients about their social media marketing, we talk about the value of shares. And when it comes to micro-influencers or any kind of brand ambassador, like, you can't buy those shares. You know, like, that's such a great growth opportunity that the friend promotes you. I'm promoting Courtney because I want other people to follow her because I think she does a really good job and she's authentic.
Yes.
But now my 1,000 friends are now watching that, and then their friends. So there's such you might only have somebody that as a micro or a nano influencer might only have X amount of people that are following them, but you're not thinking about that next level of where that content can be reached.
Yeah. Well, and that person grows too.
Yes.
Most nano influencers are not going to become micro influencers, but the ones that do, those are the really effective people at really building community and building connections. Those are the ones where people are hanging off their every word and recommending, hey, this person's so good, I want you to follow them too. Right. How powerful is it for a business to have a partnership early on with an influencer who is really great at creating content but is just getting started? And a year from now, when they start off and they've got 1,500 or 2,000 or 5,000 followers, and a year from now they've got 200,000 followers, and you have the potential to reach that many more people, and those people are highly engaged, like, because they're highly engaged all along the way, that's so powerful.
Well, don't you think too, I mean, we always tell our clients if they're creating video content that how powerful testimonials can be. This is just testimonials at a different level.
Well, it's way more effective.
Oh, it's way more effective.
It seems like it's coming from the heart.
And don't pigeonhole yourself by just thinking it's only product. I recently went through something where my family was working with a hospice, and we had such an amazing experience with them that I know that sounds kind of like you're treading on water, but having that experience to work with an influencer that's actually gone through that, you can trust them, but it's also knowing that, like, that's a service that you need. And here's a particular hospice company that did such an amazing job that brought us to a different level that you want to talk about. And those influencers are speaking from the heart. I feel like there's just such a trust level with some of these, and you'll know the difference. When you're following different influencers, you know the difference between somebody that's just there to make a buck and somebody that really wants to share their experiences with you.
Yes, and share a little piece of their lives, and you get to follow along. I think it's incredibly impactful, and I think that even for something, for some of those more sensitive businesses too, I think it could be really impactful. And that's not to say that you're going to see an immediate ROI, because those are things that people might only need at certain times in their lives, but you're starting to build that brand recognition.
Absolutely.
And well, we always like to bring this back to ROI. How can businesses measure the true ROI of their micro-influencer partnerships, and what metrics indicate success for them?
So with any campaign, any marketing or advertising that you're doing, you always have to start with a clear KPI, right? A key performance indicator, really based on what your objectives are, right? With video, it's very easy to do things that you can track so easily. Unique promo codes, custom UTM parameters, affiliate links, those 3 things right there. It will show you if it's working, especially if you're product or service related. But even if it's more of a educational piece, it's still use this link, go to our page, and you're tracking that. And you're seeing how many people are still coming to your website to get more information. You have to know your conversions. You have to know all those things if it's not just a product that gets sold and goes into a shopping cart.
Right.
But you also is very easy to measure. And I think no matter what you do, you'll be just like digital marketing. I can show you how many people are coming to your website based on any of the ads that you run. Very similar to what we're talking about with anything with social media. Now it's a step above it. It's not a sponsored post. It's just an influencer that so many people follow.
Yes.
But all of that is trackable.
Yes, it absolutely is. I think for most influencer marketing partnerships, because they want that trackability, there is that offer of you're going to get 10% off, or you're going to get 40% off if you're having a big sale or something like that. But even if you don't have that e-commerce where you're using offer code Shannon in the checkout, but when they call to schedule that lawn care appointment, say, hey, make sure to say, use this code or tell them this, and you'll get free aeration or something with a package deal or something like that.
Well, and you're also measuring, typically you could get up to an 11 times higher ROI than anything else you're doing when it comes to micro-influencers. That's how good it can be. Mm-hmm. But also you want to look beyond the sale, right? You want to look at what's the audience growth.
Yes.
On social alone, you can measure engagement increases. If you didn't do anything in February, but you started working with an influencer the next month, measure what's your engagement last year versus this year, right? Mm-hmm. What's the content creation value, right? You've created this content that now technically you can continue to share and own on your own page because you are working with that particular micro-influencer. Yeah. So there's so many more ROIs that tie into it. I would say a long-term impact includes 37% higher customer retention rates. That's huge.
Those are
huge numbers if done correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think in the end, I would love if any of our listeners have more questions. You can go right to our website at Federated Digital Solutions and reach out to us. But this is a great topic of conversation and one that I think we're going to continue. I've often looked at what we could do to help our clients that we work with now, connect them with the right micro-influencers. I'd love to have a Courtney Spencer on this podcast. And I think after this episode, I'm going to send this podcast to her and be like, Courtney, come talk to us. Please. I'd love to have you on, right? Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Krystal. Your expertise is always so valuable.
Thanks, Shannon.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning in today. And join us for our next episode of Digital Marketing ROI.
You've been listening to Digital Marketing ROI from Federated Digital Solutions. Do you have an idea for a future episode or a burning digital marketing question? Text ROI to 45364 to get a link where you can share your idea. Subscribe to get new episodes every other Thursday, plus Tip Tuesday insights every week.
Podcasts by Federated Media.